Hi. Until the library was transferred to a larger, more modern new building, as a child, this is the library that I attended. I loved to read books. There are lots of black folks, Oprah Winfrey and many others talk about. I have a friend named Sandra. Books were just a very important part of our lives, and still today, books are very special to me. But when this library first opened in 1960, it was during segregation in this small southern town. And black folks, coloreds, as they were called during that time, were not allowed to enter through the door that I just stood in front of. So as a little girl, I had the experience of going to the library, and I would have to enter through the side door of this library. And I can't tell you how that felt. I was grateful that I could come to the library. But I also knew that there was a limitation that was being placed upon me, that I was only being allowed to use the books that were in a small section of the building. Every now and then, as time went on, if you had a book you wanted, they would look it up, and if it wasn't there in the colored people section, and it was in the library, you would tell them and they would send it downstairs to you. I can't tell you how it felt as a little girl to live in a place where you were constantly being told in a million ways that you were not good enough, that because of your skin color, you were less than. And of course, you learned how to negotiate that. There were social codes, and you would placate and play up to white people. Hello, Mrs. Johnson. How are you today, Mrs. Johnson? And Mrs. Johnson would just look at you. She would look at you and she wouldn't say, "Good morning, little girl." She wouldn't say, "What's your name?" She wouldn't say, "Welcome. I'm glad to see that you're learning to read." She would just ignore you. She would act as if you had not even spoken to her. Can you imagine what it would be like to be in a world that inside of you, you had capacities and abilities and potential, and you were constantly being given the message, not you, not you, not you. But there was a vibrant black community, or colored black people owned homes. My family owned a home. My mother and my father's friends owned homes. My mother was a businesswoman. My father, he drove cab with, I guess you'd say, a black business owner owned the company. My clothes were delivered, clean clothes were delivered by a gentleman who owned the cleaners. I went to daycares as a child that were owned by black people. There were civic events and parades, and it was so beautiful. Just even having a community. It was an all-black school. All my teachers were black, colored, as you could say. And we really learned. They really taught us. It was a sense of pride that we had in ourselves. We were taught to have a sense of pride in spite of. We were taught to push ourselves beyond the limits that people were trying to set for us. And we were taught we could do it. We weren't taught we could do it through people sitting down having motivational conversations with us. Oh, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. No, that wasn't how we learned we could do it. They were giving us work to do as children and expecting us to master that work. And we did, so many of us. So I'm home, and this is the section where black people were not allowed to come. You didn't come in this area. This was the area where rich white folks lived. Yes, and now, after years of decline, they are trying to revitalize the town, the center of the town. Integration brought lots of changes. Those businesses, they were destroyed during integration because people began to take their business out to the mall on the peripheral of this small town. And so the city and the city business caved. And those revitalization plans that they made, there was no tax base that could support those. So even to this day, there's empty land where once stood beautiful black-owned homes. Yes. And were I to take you further up, I could show you a park that I could not go to as a child. And nearby is a historic building. You may see it in the distance. It's coming into view. There's so many historical landmarks here. One of them is the once viable black center of business. Yes. Landmark. We're not far from that once vibrant black business center, the district. We're not. Let's go over and see what's become of it. A place where there were restaurants and black-owned drugstores and dentists, black dentists, and funeral parlors, and the cab company that my father worked for. Here we are, we're on our way. Yes. The decline of this wasn't complete and accomplished suddenly. It took years and years and years for this once vibrant black district to become what you will see it is now. I remember coming home one year and they had an event, a community festival. And I remember setting up a table and sharing information about parenting. And I staged a double Dutch contest for the children. And the city was so impressed, they sent me a letter that I preserved that's very precious to me, inviting me to come back home if I wanted to and help them create programs for youth. Yes, what was once the center of a town, that was a segregated town with a vibrant black community has become, looks like a parking lot. I'm here. If I had water, I would pour a libation to all of the people who once lived in this town. The beauticians, the barbers that own their own businesses. Yeah, we still have the funeral homes, but the drugstore is gone. The businesses are gone. What you see here is open green space. Used to be a row of businesses, a restaurant. Yes, the church is still there, but it was surrounded by businesses. And they're all gone. All of the life of this town is gone. So ask me how I feel about it. How do I feel about the changes that I witnessed that was slow in coming? What I shared with you was the reality of this town 50 years ago. It took them 50 years to rid this community of any vestige, any aspect, any small remains of what was once a vibrant black town. Black business district surrounded by black businesses. Black people owning homes, having a community, and economics was something that they experienced among themselves, buying from each other because they had no choice. Values, teaching their children values, educating their children. It was a wonderful experience for me, and I'm so grateful. And of course, I embrace change. And how will we build on all that has happened in the last 50 years of my life, of what I've looked at in this world? How will we grasp a hold of what is in all of us at this moment in time to respond to the challenges that we face? Well, this is a start. Sharing with each other our thoughts and our feelings, telling our stories, striving to support and uplift and encourage each other, developing the discipline, the tenacity, the strength and the determination to push beyond the obstacles, the adversity. We can do it. We are doing it. Let's do it together. Let's pull together. Let's help each other. I invite you. Allow me to have company on my journey. and allow me to be company on yours. Abiwa, Queen Mother of the universe. And as I say goodbye, I want you to remember the people who were in your life 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. I want you to remember the people who taught you, who supported you, who nurtured you, who made an impression upon you. And for these moments, these few moments, let's just think about them. And let's just send them gratitude. Let's just acknowledge them. Let's just celebrate the life that we had with them. Ashe.